What's up, Cowboys Nation? Welcome back to Craven Cowboys. As you know, it's your girl Craven. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this Saturday evening on this long weekend. Shout out to the long weekend. Very happy that I actually realized a couple of days ago that it was a long weekend. So definitely happy to catch up on some rest. With that being said, happy Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Weekend. Honestly, you know what I'm saying. Shout out to the men and women who have served our country, and shout out to those who are currently serving as well. You know what I'm saying. I have if you guys. Actually, I don't think I've ever said it before, but if you guys have been following me, I do have my parents are both retired Army. I have a brother who is currently serving in the Navy, so very happy, very proud of them, and I do have some other friends and family who are also servicemen as well. So shout out to them as well, and like I said, shout out to veterans. Make sure you guys recognize veterans out there. They definitely, those in need, and also those who aren't in need. Just make sure you recognize their service to this country, and definitely lucky, and it's because of them that we're able to live the lives currently that we're able to live. So very happy, very grateful, and very blessed as well. And I'm very blessed to be here. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, it's been a long week. Been a long work week. Been a long week for Cowboys as well. As you guys, I'm sure you guys seen the news earlier today that starting QB1. Dak Prescott is going to be out for the season, unfortunately, and it's always sad. At least for me. I love Dak Prescott as my quarterback. Been rocking with him since he's been here, and he's from time to time showed up for the team, and I know he's been having kind of a down year this year, but that's unfortunate. But it's definitely more unfortunate that he's actually going to miss the rest of the season. It's one thing. We kind of knew how serious the injury was, right? I mean, they said when the hamstring was torn off the bone. I mean, you don't really expect to really come back in even from 4 to 6 weeks. It's just doesn't seem possible, right? So they kind of hear they were seeing them, they were kind of delaying, kind of putting them on IR. We were some Cowboys fans are kind of wondering like what's going on, like what's taking so long to put them on IR. So now it kind of kind of makes sense a little bit. Dak was kind of I actually put a tweet up while I'm talking. And actually, before I get too deep into it, make sure you guys hit the like button, hit the share button, hit subscribe if you aren't subscribed just yet. Still trying to grow my followers throughout this season. Good, bad, and ugly season or not. Still trying to get my followers up. But and like I said, appreciate you guys spending your time with me on this Saturday evening. But like I said, I'll go ahead and pull the tweet up. But as you guys seen earlier, Dak is actually going to require surgery. For his torn hamstring, and that's it's definitely bad news. I mean, even when we first heard the seriousness of it, his hamstring being partially torn off the bone. I mean, that's another horrific injury. I don't know if it's on the same leg as when he sustained that injury back in 2020, I believe. His ankle, of course, back then in 2020. So I'm not sure if it's the same leg, but I mean, that kind of injury, especially for our starting quarterback, is definitely, a little worrisome. Like I said earlier, definitely sad. I mean, you don't expect that kind of injury, especially, and it kind of sucks, right? I mean, I'm not saying this is why. I'm saying, but leading up to this, Dak has had the pressure of, media asking him, about running, with the ball, being mobile in the pocket, he's being questioned about, I think, Flacco, Rogers, who else? Andy Dalton, I think they brought up as well, as far as having more rushing yards, as far as being a quarterback than Dak Prescott. So, he kind of laughed it off, but he admitted that it was bad. I mean, Jerry, kind of spoke up and say, hey, we don't necessarily want him running a lot, but here we go. Here I brought the tweet. Lo and behold, he kind of, is mobile in the Falcons game. Runs the ball a few times, and then what's crazy is you see him kind of pass the ball, and that's when you kind of see the pain on his face about with his hamstring and everything. So it's just like, man, like I don't know if that's what led to it, because even Dak said he wasn't sure about where and when the injury actually happened. So. Hopefully he heals well. Hopefully he's able to kind of get through this time. It kind of sucks for him to be injured, once again, especially for, a large amount of time in the season. and they're saying the recovery period for him now is about 4 months. So I guess looking at about late April, March, right after draft, OTAs and things like that. So it's definitely going to be a long stretch, a long healing process. Hopefully, a healing process that goes well. He says that he's a fast healer. He's a someone who can has been through the rehab before. As far as coming back from an injury. So hopefully prayers to him. Hopefully he's able to kind of get through this this tough time. But it's never never easy time for any player to go through an injury. So hopefully he's able to come back, from this. And shout out to Splendid Poppy in the building, and also shout out to Nisi in the building as well. My girl, always in the building for me. Appreciate you. Yeah, like I said, as you guys can see the tweet, Dak Prescott to undergo season-ending surgery for his partially torn hamstring, pending the opinion of one final specialist. That he's going to New York. But with everyone that he's visited, they're pretty much all giving them the same opinion. Saying that he will require the surgery, and they're going to end up having this for the rest of the season. So it definitely does suck. I mean, losing your starting quarterback, but as you guys already know, we do have Cooper Rush, taking up, stepping up in this position for Dak, and that's kind of what we're kind of going to go over this evening. Just just quickly, Mike McCarthy had a call with 105.3 The Fan earlier this week, and he kind of spoke about that, with the game plan as far as having Cooper Rush, and because there's kind of some back and forth, as far as should Trey start. Or should they kind of try to incorporate Trey Lance into the game plan? If at all. Mike McCarthy kind of spoke about it in this phone call. That's kind of why I brought it up. Just to kind of some points out of the phone call, and also just some other news and notes. For the rest of the week. Micah Parsons coming back. Let me see. Kalen Carson. He also had a full week of practice. Saying I believe Kendricks as well. Zach Martin as well. We're going to take a look at the injury report from this week as well. So just make sure you guys stay tuned. Like I said, appreciate you guys joining me on a Saturday evening. And yeah, you're right, Nisi. Yeah, Dak was in the boot before the season started. Yeah, I'm definitely praying for his healing as well. I mean, I don't know if the two injuries are related, but it sucks. I mean, and it all kind of started from Sam Williams, right? I mean, and that's kind of just where all these kind of slew of injuries kind of started, right? Sam Williams. As the season started, we had Brandon Cooks, D-Law, Micah Parsons, like I mentioned earlier. And of course, like I meant, Kendrick, he didn't miss too many games, but he did miss the Niners game, an important game where we needed the defense to be, on their P's and Q's, you know what I'm saying? So, and now Deron Bland, another big name, like I mentioned earlier, Carson, he missed a few games as well. So it's just been one of those years, Cowboys Nation, where, just really get knocked over the head with injuries. I mean, we've seen other teams go through that. We've seen Baltimore go through it. I believe a couple of years ago when they just had, a whole rash of injuries. We're seeing the 49ers. They're going through it themselves. Luckily this week, for them, they're getting McCaffrey back. Unfortunately, Ayuk is out for the season, but, they're starting to get some guys back as well. Debo's kind of been up and down, but, he's made sure to stay, kind of stay sure for them as well. So, we'll see how it goes for them. But, as far as the Cowboys go, it's just an unfortunate year for them. It kind of sucks, when you do have this many people down and out because of injury. But, just kind of listen to some of the players. I think, in my opinion, just listening to them speak in some interviews this week, they seem to be kind of, still kind of keeping a positive mindset. CD Lamb, Michael Parsons kind of spoke about, having confidence in Cooper Rush. He stepped up in 2022 when Dak went out before, but and just the other players still focusing in. Jay Lou kind of spoke about, still being honed in, although, Dak would, Dak, at the time only being out for 4 to 6 weeks. But, Jay Lou kind of spoke about how Micah looked in practice, said he looked good, being explosive off the line. Micah himself spoke about that he just needed that kind of came to fruition today. He went through, a full padded practice without any issues, knock on wood. So they're saying he should be good to go to play tomorrow. CD Lamb as well. CD Lamb spoke about that his shoulder feels, much better from a few days ago. Even Mike McCarthy kind of spoke about it too, that CD had a great practice, said he looked really good in practice and that he should be good to go as well. So this is just so many things that we heard, throughout the week, and that I think, is great news actually to hear and actually bring up some more tweets that I've seen throughout the week. Yeah, this one here, CD Lamb said he's good to go. He said my shoulder is much better than it was on Sunday. I feel like I've taken a big step these last 2 to 3 days. I'm good. I was out there running today. And that's Jonathan Mingo. As you guys, as I spoke on my live earlier this week. They made the trade. He was in practice this week. And yeah, like I mentioned, Michael Parsons said he just needed that full day in practice in pads, and that was today. So they said he looked good. So, and I'm sure you guys seen the tweet that Micah himself put out earlier. I think maybe about an hour ago now. Saying that he's good to go. Saying to himself he left a lot on the plate. He's ready to get back to playing, and I'm excited for that. I'm saying I know the season is kind of weary right now, Cowboys Nation. But I just, like I said, I'm going to stay where my feet are. Still stay where the Dallas Cowboys feet are right now, and it's mid-season. I'm saying, just speaking for me, I spend 5 to 6 months waiting for the football season, in and of itself. I'm saying? So, it's a lot of football left to be played, and I know the season, is probably done for for Cowboys Nation for this year, but. I'm excited. I'm still excited to see guys like Micah come back. I'm hoping D-Law can come back. I don't know if he's going to be back this season. I'm not sure, just how bad his injury is, but I'm excited to see what Micah looks like coming back. Deron Bland as well. I'm not really sure what's going on. I know that they said that he's kind of experienced some setback or a setback, prior to the Lions game. Hopefully it's not too bad. Not really sure what effect it's having on his foot. But hopefully we can see him sometime this year. I'm still excited to kind of see what he looks like. I'm hoping that we get to see, just some improvement from our guys. I know they have to come back and get, acclimated to the game. Even Michael Parsons spoke. I mean, even when he was giving this very interview, he was out of breath himself, of course, seemingly coming off of practice. But he said when he in practice that his lungs was kind of hurting. He had to, he has, not just Micah, but all these guys coming back have to get back, used to conditioning, in practice, and then of course getting back used to game speed. So it's going to be important for these guys to not rush back, not push themselves too hard, to be able to to acclimate themselves back into the team. But at the same time, like I said, I'm excited to see what they can contribute to this team going forward, albeit the season being over, quote unquote. Of course we don't have our starting quarterback, but I'm excited to see what, like I mentioned the other day on my live, and I really just want to see what these guys can do with this down year. Like what goals do they have for themselves? What goals do they have, team wise? What kind of things do they want to, succeed at, even if they're having, a bad season. Hey, what's going on? I love weed. Hey, appreciate you joining me. It's been a long time since I've seen you, man. What's up? I hope you're doing really well. I can't. I think the last time I spoke to you was on someone else's chat. So, and that was like months ago. It might have even been last season, or maybe the very beginning. Maybe the very beginning of this season. I can't really remember, but really appreciate you joining me. Yeah, I really appreciate you. I love weed. And I like the comment you made too, 22-17 MVP Arbor game. And a lot of people have been saying that this week, about us, kind of stinging, maybe potentially coming back, maybe winning against the Eagles. And I would love that. I mean, I said it earlier this week on my other live that, there's other teams out there who look to spoil the Cowboys season, when we're riding high. So, why not, be the team to kind of spoil these other teams that are riding high, even if we're having a down season, and why not do it, against a division rival, what I mean, especially someone like the Eagles, what I mean? So it's just, I think that would be good. It could be a confidence builder, something we can carry into next season. I'm saying? Maybe, because we do have a lot of young guys. I mean, that's one thing. Another thing I'll say too, like, I don't want to necessarily see everyone can fan how they fan, but it just kind of sucks for me when I see like other fans and Cowboys Nation kind of say, because I know Michael tweeted out he was coming back, but I seen other people say like, well, we're done, or the season's done, it doesn't matter, and things like that, and I don't like to see that. Because these Michael spoke about still having confidence in Cooper Rush, still having confidence in the season. We may not always think that, of course, Cooper Rush isn't Dak Prescott. I'm not saying that. But I mean, I'm sure these players don't want to just think that, the nation, Cowboys Nation is thinking that the season's over. We don't believe. I'm not going to watch the game. I'm not going to support my team, this, that, and the third. It's just like, kind of like a shout out to Okoye Media. He said it earlier this season. And then I seen the video because Cowboys Fan Talk, shout out to Rome. He actually reposted on his video. saying like, if you're gonna be there when I'm at, at my best, when the Cowboys are 12-5, why can't we be there for them when they're at their worst, being at 3-5, our current record, going forward. So I just, like I said, I don't necessarily want to see Cowboys Nation being that wet blanket. Like I understand the season is down. Maybe some fans just haven't been here before. Maybe some fans aren't used to losing. Having a losing record, things like that. But I mean, it's week. What is it? Week 9, week 10. Like the bye week kind of throws me off sometimes. But whatever we get is week 10. Like I don't want. I just hate to see. And I understand. Like it's just, this is just definitely one of those tough years where the injuries just kind of really knocked us back. And but it just for me, like as a fan, it just sucks, seeing other fans say, "Oh well, we're done. It's over." Like, I don't care about our star pass rusher, Michael Parsons, coming back. You know what I mean? It's just like I'm excited to see him come back. You know what I'm saying? I want to see, like I said earlier this week, I want to see what these younger guys take from this down year, because you can still build confidence, you can still improve your game. You know what I'm saying? We're still going to be facing some tough opponents down the stretch. You know what I'm saying? We do have the Texans still coming up, the Commanders, you know what I'm saying? Another Giants game. You know what I mean? Cincinnati, who is steadily improving. I mean, we saw them face the Ravens the other night. And I mean, I knew that was coming, right? I mean, and that's not just with the Bengals, but, all teams, kind of start out rusty in the beginning of the season, right? But us getting the Bengals late in the season, I already just kind of knew, in my heart of hearts, that seeing them late in the season, of course, was worse than seeing them in the beginning, because the Bengals always kind of build toward the end of the season, right? And of course, seeing how they played the other day against the Ravens, it's just like, man, like they're gonna be a problem in December. You know, whether they're in a playoff spot or not, or whether they're facing playoff hopes in December, is yet to be seen. I think they were close to being 500. So I think maybe they were to knock back another game. So whether or not they're in the playoff contention, you see, they're still playing hard. I still believe that Joe Burrow is pretty much, I don't want to say carrying the team, but the defense isn't necessarily there. But and of course Chase, and Chase Brown as well. I'll say Jamar Chase and Chase Brown are both contributing to the offense as well. So I love what they're doing over there. I'm not going to love it when we face them in December, but I do think that they're still playing tough regardless, and they're in a tough division. So it's not like you know they're playing, no offense, but not like they're playing in the AFC East, where you have, the Jets, who are doing bad right now, and Miami, who was kind of, trying to climb back, but they're kind of in a down spot right now too. So it's not like they're playing like a Rudy Poo division. You know what I'm saying? They're playing a really tough division. So it's just like, for them to still be playing tough, and then to be coming down to those really close games. They came down to a close game with Washington. They came down to a close game with the Kansas City Chiefs. So the Bengals, they've been through it. And they go through it every year, but they've been through tough teams already this year. So whether they were good or not, like already kind of knew that they were going to be a problem down the stretch. So it's just, it's going to be, it's going to be crazy when we face them. So, to my earlier point, these guys can still build kind of a confidence. I think they still can take away something from this season. Like I said, whether it's not, like I said, us having a first place schedule, even though it kind of knocked us back as far as this year, I just think that it can be, it can be a good builder mentally for these young players, because you don't get the schedule every year. And you're facing these tougher opponents, these tougher players. So I think that could help them in the long run for when, if we do have a softer schedule next year, it can improve their strength for next year. Hey, what's good, Philly? Philly, what's up? Hey, appreciate you sliding through. I know it's Philly week, so I know you had to. I know you had to step through. What's up? Yeah, it has been a minute. Appreciate your support. And I know, and I wish this could be a better Cowboys, Eagles, hate week, or I think they're calling it hate week, right? I just call it Eagles week. You know what I'm saying? I don't call it hate, because for me, hate is kind of a strong word, especially with it just being it's entertainment and sports. I don't necessarily use the word hate, but I know it's Philly week. I definitely still have my colors on today. Definitely still rock my Cowboys, especially it's division week. You know what I'm saying? Anytime you play a division rival, especially like Philly or any kind of division game, it's tough. It's different. You know what I'm saying? We seen it with games like Atlanta and Atlanta and the Bucks. Atlanta and the Saints. You know what I mean? Just some of these division games can really come down. Hell, I think this past weekend it was the Panthers and the Saints. Now I know the Saints have been kind of on a down spiral since we played them. I think what week two, and they haven't really won since then. But I mean, I'm sure no one. I'm not gonna say no one. I'm sure some people have, maybe. I think my dad said he picked the Panthers to win, but I'm sure no. I know I didn't expect the Panthers to win. And I know it was kind of a last minute, fashion or whatever with it, but the Panthers still won, and with Bryce Young. You know what I'm saying? And I'm happy for the young man. Very happy that he's able to get a dub underneath his belt. Saw his expression, saw his face. Very happy with himself. The team definitely rallied around him. So I think that was great for his confidence. I mean, that's kind of to my point earlier about the Cowboys. Like the Panthers, no offense to them, but it's not like they really have anything to really look forward to, right? So why not take, they have a dub. I'm sure that gave Bryce Young confidence. They gave the organization confidence in Bryce Young, hopefully. You know what I'm saying? I know there was I know Andy Dalton had the accident. Hopefully him and his family are okay. But when you take a win like that, you take a team win like that, you know what I'm saying, that builds confidence in that team. So I just think that something like that can be a stepping stone in the right direction for that organization. So if our guys can kind of take, take it like in a similar manner, because I'm sure the Panthers, albeit I don't know what kind of schedule they have, whether they have I know they probably have a last place schedule, but as in respect to their team, they're facing tougher teams than what they have. So I'm sure all the players over there are trying to take, with a grain of salt, trying to make sure they play out these games, putting whatever they can on film to hopefully, number one, improve their game, but also, if they can improve their organization, or also help this young man out, give him tips, give him confidence as well behind, just being behind that team, and just hopefully being able to, go forward with that, and just hopefully be able to kind of face whatever comes his way, whether or not he stays there for the upcoming year, for next year, whether they decide to keep him as a starter or whatever he has to face coming up. I'm sure that win, and hopefully going forward, the games for him, can hopefully lift him up. So let me see. Where do I want to go next? Oh yeah, another tweet. Actually, you know what? Well, yeah, I'm already here. We'll go ahead and finish off these tweets, and then we'll go ahead and go to the Mike McCarthy phone call. But yeah, like I spoke about earlier with the injury report, Michael Parsons said questionable, but he tweeted out earlier, himself, and also Todd Archer did out earlier that he will be playing. But some other things that stood out for me. Hold on, let me make sure I have this up for you guys. Okay, so I do. So this is the injury report. So one thing kind of stood out for me, though, like I mentioned earlier, Deron Bland is going to be out. Kalen Carson full week, but Trayvon Diggs, he had a calf and slash illness. He missed a practice with an illness earlier this week, and then they have him limited. But then they said Friday he didn't practice, and then of course now they have him listed as questionable. So that for me, I'm just like, I'm sure like every other fan is like, what's going on? Like there's something. I know he had the illness, but is he still having trouble with the calf? Because he came out last week, he played, I know he didn't have the greatest game, but they didn't say anything about him having a setback. Knock on wood, hopefully he doesn't. But they didn't say anything about him having a setback. He seemed to play full strength. He didn't take what didn't seem like any plays off. So I'm assuming that he's going to be the same this week. So for him just to not practice on Friday, that would just kind of raise some questions with me. Eric Kendricks did not practice, but then now he's limited. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, Zach Martin was a full participant, on Friday. Micah Parsons will be back. Another one, Wanye Thomas. He's actually going to be out for the game. That's unfortunate as well. I'm a Wanye fan. I wish they would play him more on defense. I know he does get those special team snaps. And every now and then, I think we've seen him on the field for defense every now and then, but not, like we would want to see him, in that safety role. But that's definitely unfortunate. They say, he had a concussion. I think I missed the play where I actually ended up missing the special team play where he did end up getting knocked out the game. But hopefully he's all right. I know usually when in concussion protocol, you do have to miss, I think, at least one game if they do deem it necessary. So I'm assuming that's what's going on. Hopefully it's nothing worse than that. Hopefully he can come back next week, back at full capacity. And just the last name on this list, Nick Vigil. I'm not sure what's going on. Like he's been like a DNP at practice for like the past like what the past 3 weeks, like possibly like the past month maybe even. And I'm like I know that he still he still does play special teams as well. I do see him out there on the kickoffs and things like that. So I'm just wondering like if he's not practicing, I know they. I'm assuming he's taking up a roster spot on the 50 or on the 48, for game day. So I'm just wondering if he's on special teams, is he that much of a dire piece, for the Cowboys to have active on game day? Like I know, granted, yeah, I know you need special teams pieces, but I mean, we have a Buddy Johnson. I know he's been active on special teams as well. So I'm just trying to think like if there's any guys that I know they said that this week it's possible for Dalvin Cook to remain on the practice squad. So I guess in my mind, I'm wondering if is it worth it to have a Dalvin Cook on the practice squad vice a Nick Vigil? You know what I'm saying? I know he is on special teams, but I'm just wondering like how important is Nick Vigil's role on this team for him to be you know what I mean? And maybe it's just me, but I'm just wondering, is if he's taking up a roster spot on game day, just how important of how important of a roster spot is he? And just kind of go along with that, like I mentioned earlier with Todd Archer mentioning that Jalen Moreno Cropper will be elevated for this game. As well as Josh Butler. They say he was elevated last week as well. But I mean that's kind of baffling to me because I mean I don't even think he got on the field last week. Josh Butler. So I'm sure through special teams, but as far as defense wise, I don't think he got on the field. So I'm just like I don't know. I mean, I know this. I don't know. Maybe some people out there probably feel like it's a wash to even talk about the season right now, and I feel you. And I'm not saying but I mean, this content got to be done right. You know what I'm saying, but and I have no problem with it. This just kind of helps me and just kind of helps me learn more about the team and what we can do in these situations. But you elevate Moreno Cropper, you elevate Josh Butler, but I guess in my mind, I'm wondering, are these guys going to get burned? Because in previous games, you elevated Dalvin Cook, you've elevated Ryan Flournoy, but we really haven't seen them. Like we've seen Ryan Flournoy in like a blocking capacity, and even last game, we saw Flournoy kind of get involved more. I think we saw him catch a pass or two in the game against Atlanta. I think actually it might have been after Cooper came in. So it could be a benefit. Maybe I don't want to say it's a benefit for Cooper to be in over Rush. I mean, Cooper to be in over Dak. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that with Cooper being in there, he has a better rapport with guys like a Ryan Flournoy, even a Jalen Tolbert, Jalen Brooks. If you really want to be honest, we could probably see guys like Turpin in there, just because these are guys who run with the second team with Cooper Rush. So that's kind of the benefit that we have with with Cooper Rush having that much chemistry with these guys. But I mean, I don't know. I don't think we're seeing a Jonathan Mingo. I mean, he just got here, obviously, but he's being worked into practice. But he's they say he's more so off to the side with Cooper Rush, doing things like that. Hey, what's up, Keystone? What's up? How you doing? And yeah, not just I actually just mismentioned that Cropper over your fourth round trade pick. Yeah, and he just got there. I mean, it's like I said, he's working off on the sideline, trying to get measured up with Cooper's footwork and things like that. So I'm not surprised, but he is game day. I'm not gonna say game day ready, but he has been taking reps in games. So I'm sure he's more conditioned than a Jalen Moreno Cropper, and especially someone who we haven't seen since preseason. You know what I mean? That's kind of the thought process. And even when we elevated Ryan Flournoy, right? I mean, for his first game in, we only saw him like in the blocking capacity. So I think it stands to reason that we would see Moreno Cropper really mainly on special teams, right? I mean, I just don't really see how much you could really integrate him into Moreno Cropper, how much you could really integrate him into a game plan if he hasn't really, I don't know what they've been doing in practice, but if you can barely get Ryan Flournoy involved, how much can you really get Moreno Cropper involved? You know what I mean? So it's just like I don't know. It's Keystone. It is what it is. Like the season itself is trash. Like it's definitely tough. It's definitely tough to be in this kind of spot. You know what I'm saying? I guess I'll just say just for me because being there in camp and kind of following the Cowboys this whole time, kind of knowing the depth that we have and these guys who have been waiting. I'm sure waiting for this opportunity to be elevated into this spot, but it's kind of just like, is it going to be done right? Is the play calling going to be done right? You know what I'm saying? We have, and now that's kind of another question I have coming up for this weekend as well too, because there are times, in my opinion, where Rush will come in the game and not, I wouldn't say there's better play calling, but and it could just be where because there's just times in the games where it's like late third, fourth quarter, McCarthy just comes with this like I call it like the comeback package. Like all of a sudden, we see throws down the seam, we see him getting guys involved. We even saw the bomb. I think one or two bombs to CD from Cooper Rush late in the game. So it's just like Mike McCarthy isn't afraid to open up the playbook, but I guess for me, it's a matter of what personnel he decides to use because, I mean, like I said, you see them elevate a Moreno Cropper, so I think they may look for guys who have that chemistry with Cooper Rush. You know what I'm saying? Guys who work with the second team, and I'm not saying the first guys won't get a chance, but like CD, like Jake Ferguson, those guys, should for sure, be working to the game plan as they should have been, but. I'll say with the Cooper Rush coming in and just seeing them elevate Moreno Cropper, I just see them maybe just looking for guys who, what I'm saying, who maybe had that chemistry with Rush to kind of get the game going a little bit more, a little bit better, just kind of making the transition just a little bit more seamless, if they can. Yeah, exactly, Keystone. And I seen that picture when I was looking up looking at Mingo's history. So Mingo played against us when we played them. They should know he has game reps. Yeah, that's facts. I think Deron Bland actually picked off Mingo as one of his picks. I don't know if it's a pick six, but I know in the Carolina game he had an interception and it was actually on Jonathan Mingo. So and that was kind of crazy, seeing that picture. I'm like, wow, like I'm sure you probably couldn't have told nobody that one of the guys that Deron Bland picked off would end up being here, as a receiver. What, a year or two later, however many years, a year later, because this is Mingo's second year. So yeah, I mean, he definitely has game reps. I mean, he has, I think, under 200 yards catching this year, but yeah, he has had some time over there working with a quarterback. So it's not like he has no. I mean, and it definitely makes sense, Keystone. I mean, why not go with a guy who has in-season game reps, or over a guy who, he has preseason reps and he had a great camp. You know what I'm saying? But and that's no offense, but that's kind of where it stopped. Like he had a great camp, but it just didn't translate over to the preseason. I mean, I think in the first preseason game he was targeted, but I think he dropped a couple passes. He had, I think, a few standout passes. I mean, a few standout catches, but I mean, we saw Trey Lance struggling in preseason, so we couldn't really expect to see the receivers really, grow in preseason because of the struggles that were happening. So, and another thing that goes along with that, Cooper Rush didn't really play a lot in preseason either. So, how much did they really get under the quote unquote bright lights of preseason? You know what I mean? So, they really only had practice reps together up until now. So yeah, I mean, I understand Mingo just got here, and I mean, you can't really learn a lot in one padded practice. You know what I mean? I understand. It's just, that's another thing. That's another thing too. Like, I'm not mad at the trade. The compensation is kind of whack, but I'm not mad at the trade. I kind of wish they would did it earlier, right? I mean, like, we lost Brandon Cooks. What, was it after the Ravens game? I forget what exact week it was, but we lost Brandon at least a month ago. Now, what I mean. So at the moment, you needed. I mean, because the guys, the rest of the guys in the wide receiver room, we're trying to get them to step up. We see Turpin make producing flash in the game. Tolbert, I think we had the Steelers week 5, so the following week he had the game-winning touchdown. So we see Tolbert showing flashes, but we just don't have that consistent guy, that consistent X receiver who can make it down the field and catch those contested passes. And I think of course, that's why they brought Mingo in. But in my opinion, I think they have guys on the practice squad like I forget his first name, but last name Harmon. I think he's a big body receiver who went up and caught a lot of contested catches in preseason from Trey Lance. just this past preseason. So I think he had a good showing. I think he showed that he could perform well. And that, like I said, it's granted it was preseason, but I think he's shown well that he can perform. Jalen Brooks, maybe he might get, like I mentioned earlier, he might get more of a chance. I mean, like we saw like a deep shot, from Cooper Rush himself in the first preseason game, and then I think he came right out the game. But I think some of these guys, maybe they can have a little bit more confidence with Cooper Rush coming in. Hopefully that's what we'll see from some of these guys like a Brooks or a Tolbert, because they had that work with Cooper Rush before. Oh, okay, so it was okay. Keystone said, yeah, it was a pick six. Okay, it was okay. Nice. Nisi says Mike doesn't need the playbook for this game. He needs a pamphlet. Keep it simple. Yeah, and Keystone says, yeah, take what they give us. Yeah, absolutely. Like I think that's huge. Like, and I even have actually let me I have some, just not a whole bunch of Eagles notes, because I haven't really been able to watch a ton of their games. But I did watch the game they had against the Jags, and yeah, I think I definitely Kelvin Harmon. Thank you, Keystone, because I follow him on Twitter, but I couldn't remember his first name for nothing. Yeah, Kelvin Harmon. Yeah, number 84. I think he had a great showing in preseason. I think, like I said, I think he was the only, or one of the only, if not the only receiver who was really able to catch them contested passes from Trey Lance, and them high passes. You know what I mean? He's a tall guy. He's maybe not the not the stockiest guy, not the biggest guy, but I think he could have shown something. You know what I'm saying? By some Moreno Cropper. You know what I'm saying? Who didn't necessarily have that great of a showing in preseason. You know what I mean? Let me see. I was about to talk about something, but please remind me, y'all, because I got thrown off by the by Kelvin Harmon. But actually, let's go over this phone call with Mike McCarthy quickly, because we are already about halfway through this live, and I want to get to that right quick because it's not long. I just want to go, like I said, I just want to go for a few points that he had in the phone call, because he kind of, he talks about the relationship with Cooper Rush that he has with the team, and the game plan and things like that. So we'll go and jump on that.
How does that work with a new player?
That's an excellent question, because that's really what you
Guys, please forgive the audio. Like it took me about 3 times to like kind of record this phone call. So when I heard, like, I know it's kind of sound like this, like a slight echo with it, but we're only listening to about 3 clips. So you guys can hang in there with me. I really do appreciate it. So we're gonna skip the first part because it does talk about Mingo, but it pretty much talks about how they've kind of integrated Mingo into practice. Of gotten them, practice speed, things like that. Like I was talking about earlier. Working on the sideline with Cooper and getting them acquainted with his footwork and things like that, and getting them used to the rhetoric of the team, and the calls, and that the things they'll have to hear in the huddle and things like that. So we're gonna skip to about a minute or so into the interview, and I will include this in my description so you guys can go back and actually watch the full interview. It's not really long, but I'm gonna go ahead and skip to Mike McCarthy's. They speak about Mike McCarthy's record with backup quarterbacks, and just being how important it is to be in tune with the team, and how and now, I mean, now granted, this interview is before the news came out about Dak being out for the season, but I'm sure they were working along the same lines of Dak, being out for, a good amount of time.
And 4 in your last 13 games starting a backup.
And it kind of got cut off. Bobby Belt says that Mike McCarthy is 9-4 in his last 13 games with a backup quarterback
Here in Dallas. Why do you think your teams have been so successful in circumstances that most teams find really, really difficult?
I think I think you just got to give credit to a lot of people, starting with the quarterback. I mean, it's a room that functions together. So then, hopefully when change happens, it's not felt as dramatically in the huddle, during the most important part, the actual playing of the game. And, and I think Cooper brings that to the table. He steps in there, has that excellent huddle command and those types of things. So the functionality of the offense is still intact. Now, how the defense is going to play him versus how they're going to play Dak, we'll see how that goes. But, yeah, I think that's part of it. And, I think you just got to be in tune with your team, who you are. And who you are is a lot that has to do with how you're playing currently. So, we're going through we're going through a phase right now with some moving parts as far as positions, guys in and out. So you got to factor that into it. So I just think that that's all part of it, and yeah, I think it's just give a lot of credit to the quarterback room.
Yeah, so you guys heard, Mike McCarthy talk about, being in tune with his team, and kind of knowing what they are with the record and things like that. And of course, the last time Cooper Rush stepped in, we know the defense was a big part, of the Cowboys' victories, right? We know that Dan Quinn was here back then. They had the turnovers. Cooper Rush was able to do. I don't want to say he did just enough, but he even Micah Parsons spoke about he did the basics. He did his job. He helped the team stay afloat. Now, granted, the game that he was 5-1 the last, or 4-1 the last time he took over, and of course the one team he lost against before Dak came back was of course the Eagles. So that's kind of like the 180 that's kind of occurred here, right? The last game he lost was against Philly, so here he comes again, versus Philly. So this is kind of going to be, kind of a, we've been talking about Dak this whole time, right? But let's talk a little bit about Cooper Rush, right? I mean, he said he's not, he said he's not phased. Well, he's not saying he's not. I think there was a quote that came out earlier that said he's not unfazed by the opportunity of taking on Philly, the team that beat him the last time. And I'm happy to hear that. I was out there at camp this past season, and not saying that Cooper, had a balled out in camp or anything like that, but I think it was a noticeable difference, a noticeable change in how Cooper played in training camp. I think that he took more deep shots down the field. I think he took bigger chances. He threw kind of in my opinion, in some tighter windows, tighter window throws. You know what I'm saying, with some of his receivers. And I mean, I think we would have seen more of that if he was able to kind of partake more in some of the preseason games. But I know it was kind of like the Trey Lance show, you know what I'm saying, just trying to see what we had in him. But I think he had a great showing in camp. Like I said, I think he took deeper shots. I mean, the Cooper Rush I think that we're used to is the quarterback that takes the safe route, kind of dump offs, dumping off we saw that in the Atlanta game. We saw him dumping off some passes to Rico. Now he had some good games off of those. I'm saying he had some room to run and things like that. But I'm not saying we're going to see a different Cooper Rush, but I just think we'll see, I mean, he's in a contract year. I mean, I think we have to I don't know. I'm not trying to make a huge big deal out of it. I just think that Cooper Rush, I think he could take this opportunity right here, this chance right here, to kind of step up his own game, to kind of prove something to himself. Maybe possibly either get back with the Cowboys, or maybe look for another team. Maybe to kind of up his value. It depends on, of course, how they decide to go forward with Dak coming back from an injury. If they decide to draft a quarterback or anything like that, but I think Cooper could take this as an opportunity. It's half a season left. A good amount of time to be able to show what he's learned, what he's been doing. His past 6-7 years with the Cowboys. I think that kind of contributes to the chemistry he has with the team, right? Being here for so long, the chemistry they have in the quarterback room, working with Dak for so long. McCarthy's been here for 4 or 5 years of those 7 years that Cooper Rush has been here. So I think that's kind of contributes to the good. I'll say the good. I'll say the good. The good chemistry between the team, right? I mean, back when they had Andy Dalton, he was here for like that 1 or 2 years he was here for. I forget how long his contract was, but that's not really a long time. McCarthy didn't have a long time to work with Dalton. You know what I'm saying? Dalton wasn't with the team for a long time, so I think that kind of led to some of the struggles that the team had as a whole with a backup quarterback. But when you have a Cooper Rush who's had this much time with the team, CD being here since 2020, I don't want to say most of the offense. I know the offensive line is kind of young, but Zach Martin, I believe, Tyler Smith. Tyler Smith has at least been here for a couple of years, so you do have some guys who do have that length of time working. That kind of like that correspondence with Cooper Rush, that they could kind of step into a game. I mean, just 2 years ago. I mean, I know, granted, we don't have all the guys we had on offense a couple of years ago, but we do still have some of the Turpin, CD Lamb, some of the guys who were on practice squad, Moreno Cropper, who they just elevated, who has spent time with him. So it's not outlandish to say that these guys already had that chemistry with Cooper and that they could come in and hopefully execute a decent game plan. But I know these are tough teams we are facing, so I'm not saying that they could. I don't think they could go on a run. Like I know Michael Parsons kind of spoke about maybe them going on a run again. I don't know if I see that happening, but I do think that the amount of time that Cooper Rush has been with this organization and been with these players can kind of help their relationship on the field and hopefully have them kind of execute plays better as well. Oh, what's good, Jasmine? What's up? How you doing, hon? I'm very happy to see you. Very happy to see you. Thank you for being here. Really, I gotta get with you and JC. I keep meaning to hit you guys up. I mean, y'all here anyway. Let me know. Let me know if you guys end up going to the Washington game, the one that they're actually playing in Washington, because I'm going to that game. So, I know it was earlier this season that we all, or I don't know if it was earlier this season or early in the offseason when we spoke about linking up. But yeah, if you guys are still going to the Washington game, I'm gonna be going through there with a coworker from work. We're gonna be out there tailgating, pretty much, throughout the day and up until the game. So if y'all going, definitely let me know, because I definitely like to link up with y'all. Danny's Dodgers Nation in the house. What's up? I think this is the first time I've seen you here. And, going off your name, I'm assuming you're a Dodgers fan. So a shout out to the Dodgers. You know what I mean? And I think they just won the World Series. I don't really follow baseball like that. So, but, I did see that they just won. So shout out to you. He said Danny from Santa Monica, California. Okay, I got a brother out there in San Diego, California. So I don't know if you're anywhere close to him, but it's nice out in Cali. You know what I'm saying? I've been out there a couple years. I seen San Fran. When they played the Cowboys last year, I believe it was, and I visited my brother out there a couple years ago as well. It's definitely nice out there on the Cali side. He says, "Can you bring me up on live video?" Oh, you mean like sharing the link? I don't. I'm gonna be real with you, fam. I don't really. Probably sounds dumb, but I don't really know how to do that on a live. I have to figure that out, because you probably follow Sports Junkie and Angry Cowboys fan. I know they be dropping the links. I got to figure out how to do that, because I never actually like shared the link like with the chat and then had them jump on. I might have to start doing that maybe on Saturday night or something like that, but. Let me look into that, and if make sure you subscribe to the channel, and then I'll definitely try to. If you're in tune with my shows in the future, I'll definitely try to do that, because I don't, like I said, I don't really drop links like that. Let me see, Willie Vassar in the building. I think I've seen you before in other people's chats as well. What's up, fam? He says one thing I like about Rush is he is a game manager. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that, Willie, and. Like I mentioned earlier, and I don't want to say I don't hate to say like he does his job, but he definitely, like I said, I think like his relationship with the players and also with McCarthy too. I mean, they kind of mentioned that. I think Cooper Rush actually mentioned that in his media availability this week about being used to McCarthy's calls. Like I mentioned, him being here for years, so he's used to. Even with this being the second year, Mike McCarthy's play calling, he's been there. He spent that time with McCarthy, Dak, even Trey Lance, kind of trying to bring him up at the same time. It's not like a guy like. Can you imagine if? And McCarthy kind of spoke about this. You actually heard him kind of mention it just now, talking about the quarterback room and just how they have to be so entrenched with each other that. The transition has to be seamless when you bring in, like whether you're bringing in a Cooper Rush or a Trey Lance, and I think that's why I get to that part of the show in a second. But where he talks about possibly bringing up Trey Lance, and he's just he doesn't say it word for word, but he just kind of mentions that you want it to be a seamless transition, right? So when you think about trying to incorporate Trey Lance into the game plan, you got to think about the chemistry he has with the players. Is he used to Mike McCarthy's play calling? Does he have the language down? Things like that. And then at the same time, you got to work him into the practice reps. And also, I'll get to the part. Let me get to the part where he talks about into the phone call, and then I'll actually dig more into the details that he actually talked about in his pressure, I believe. Let me get to that part. 1 second. All right, here we go.
Reps. Versus playing Rush right now. What consideration did y'all give to just throwing Trey Lance out there and trying to get some reps versus playing rush right now?
Well, I think it's important to play to win the game. So, I mean, everything we do Sunday will be, with that mindset. We have a lot of football left to play. This is a division game. It's our second division game, and it's important for us to be 2-0 when we walk off that field Sunday.
Coach, when you study Philly,
exactly, and I can understand that. Like I didn't. And another thing that kind of factors into that, I don't know if you guys watch the Mike McCarthy show that he does every week with Bill Jones, but he also kind of talked more about that. Well, kind of talk more in depth about them only having a certain number of padded practices left. I think he mentioned, of course, we know with the holiday schedule coming up, we know Thanksgiving is pretty much around the corner now. We know the Cowboys kind of go through that short week, you know what I mean, where they have like the 2 or 3 games within like 14 days, and then as of course as the year goes on, not just the Cowboys, but everyone gets shorter practice. Well, a smaller amount of practices, and they don't have as many padded practices. So I think McCarthy is just kind of, it's already one thing, I mean, now that Dak is out for the season, so it's not the fact of having to plan for Dak coming back, but it's already one thing for you having a game plan for Cooper Rush, who you are not going to game plan the same for, what I'm saying, as you would for Dak Prescott. So not only does he have to adjust to that, but now you're talking about having a game plan for a Trey Lance who doesn't have the chemistry with the first team. You know what I'm saying? With the O line. I'm saying, I mean, it was already, forget my language, but it was already a shit show with Dak Prescott being behind, being behind that O line. I'm saying, BB's actually doing all right, but with Guyton and of course Steele and Martin on the other side, kind of having up and down games. Dak was taking some hits. You know what I mean? So it's completely different when you're trying to game plan for a Cooper Rush and now you're trying to throw Trey Lance in the mix. I just think it would just be a lot. Now, granted, you do have half the season left, but the Texans are on a short week, and then a couple weeks from that, a week from that, you have Commanders, but then you have a short week going into the Giants game. So it's just, you can only plan so much on those short weeks. So I definitely understand where McCarthy is coming from as far as not being able to, I wouldn't say not being able to game plan for Trey Lance, but not being able to incorporate him all the way into the game plan. Because I know Jerry mentioned about having packages and things like that, which I wouldn't mind seeing packages, especially against Philly. You know what I'm saying? In my opinion, just pull out all the stops against Philly. But I do understand, I do understand that with the limited amount of practices that they have left, the limited amount of padded practices, that it can be a lot for, for McCarthy to try to game plan for, if, you're already trying to game plan for a Cooper Rush. Yeah, I appreciate that. Appreciate you subscribing, Danny. He says 1 hour away from San Diego. Hold on, let me get back. He said 1 hour from San Diego. If you're in town, let's hang out. Go to a Cowboys training camp. And yeah, I actually went to a training camp this past year and training camp last year, and it was, I'm gonna try. Well, I'm gonna try to go out there every year for the training camps. I do love going to those, but I think this next year coming up, I'm gonna try to go to the training camp in Texas because my like you say you just subscribe. Really appreciate that, but you'll see when I do my weekly shows with Stargazer, because she's out there in Texas, so I want to try to get out there next year for training camp so we could probably do some shows together. But yeah, okay, yeah. Willie says that's how I found you, was because of Angry Cowboys fan just checking in from Houston, Texas. All right, appreciate you, man. And I love Angry Cowboys fan. Definitely, like Star said, definitely one of the best like voices in the Cowboys content creator community. But and definitely very knowledgeable. I mean, like I mentioned, like very, very early on in the live, like he did a breakdown of McCarthy's presser, early this week about him, kind of putting the front office, in the spotlight about, bringing in veterans very late into the year, around training camp and things like that. And shout out to Stargazer as well. Boss Cowboy, I think he did a show on it as well with Landlord from Alabama. All these spotlights that they put on this press conference, is really important. And shout out to Mike McCarthy for even mentioning it. You know what I mean? Because it's, he receives a lot of criticism, and that's well known, right? McCarthy, Dak, CD, these guys take it. Micah Parsons, they take a lot of the brunt of the criticism, when they don't do things right. You know what I mean, right? So it's just, I know it's part of wearing the star, but sometimes you got to think about. Sometimes they could be a part of the problem, but they don't necessarily have to be the entire problem. You know what I mean? Let me see. Let me see the comments. He said, I'm also a Dallas Cowboys YouTuber. When they were losing, I changed my name to Danny's Dodgers. Come on, come on, fam. I know you say they ain't change your name. And I don't blame you either. Like when we were first, I think we were first going through like the losing streak. Not saying I didn't want to do content, but I was like, man, like shout out to these content creators who had to go through these years, these losing years that the Cowboys have had. Because I'm just starting to do content. This is really like my second year, doing content like full on. But I'm sure during those losing years where you had where creators had to come on and talk about the Cowboys not being in the best light. So it's tough. You know what I'm saying? And it was tough for me this year. It's even tough now. I mean, if you guys can kind of tell, like, that I haven't fully given up on the season, although I know in the back of my mind that it's over. We lost Dak. Typically when we lose Dak, it's over for sure. You know what I mean? But it's just like, I don't know. I gotta be there for my guys. You know what I mean? Like I mentioned earlier, like Okoye said, I'm there. When they're 12-5, so I gotta be there. Whatever the record is going to be at the end of the season, but I gotta be there when they're 3-5. You know what I mean? I got to. These are my guys. Like, I really love just really, and that's really what kind of makes me gravitate towards them even more. And that's really why I like McCarthy. You know what I'm saying? He had seemed to really unite the locker room. He seems to really have that brotherhood for them going. They seem to fight for him. They, all those times where, when they, McCarthy went back and played Green Bay for the first time, Kirk spoke about the team kind of rallying around him and wanting McCarthy, wanting it to be a big game for McCarthy, you know what I mean? And just the support that these guys show Dak, we've seen the relationship between them grow just over this past offseason. They spend, I think they spend Thursdays together. They have, conversations, outside of football together. So it's just that relationship has grown as well. And even McCarthy said that he'll have the meetings that he's had with Dak, in the past, he'll now have those meetings with Cooper. I don't know about the personal conversations and things like that, but he'll now be spending that time with Cooper. And I'm sure Trey Lance will be spending more time with them as well. But that's what he has to do. Like, I mean, McCarthy spoke about being in tune with the quarterback room, making sure, like I mentioned earlier, and like he mentioned, just making sure that transition is as seamless as possible. Because, I mean, that's where it starts, right? I mean, Cooper Rush touches the ball every play, and then from there he has to distribute the ball. So McCarthy has to make sure as the play caller, as the guy, he says he's trying to make sure that he's in the quarterback room as much as he can be, because he just wants that transition to be as smooth as possible. Yeah, Will. Yeah, he said, okay, yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, he said, I seen you on Boss channel. Yeah, I thought so. He said, so sis, what do you think about our new pickup? Yeah, I like that Mingo was here, and actually, I'll bring up that tweet. Now that you mentioned it, let me bring up that tweet right quick. It should still be up here in the background. Yeah, about them working in Jonathan Mingo into practice. Yeah, let me bring that up. Yeah, he says, well, actually, says new Cowboys wide receiver Jonathan Mingo. This is a fresh start for me. I'm glad they took a chance on me so I can show them what I can do. Somebody finally believed in me so I can show them what I can do. I'm just happy to be here. Why didn't things work out with him for the Panthers? He says, I don't know. You can talk to them. It's not up to me. It's between the front office and coaching staff. I know there are some things that I could have done better, but I'm here now. And I like that he said that, and I like that he said that, he's happy to be here. It's, sound like he's willing to work. Sound like he's, ready to step in at whatever, they need him to do. And I think he's kind of recognizing and acknowledging, because I mean, I don't know if he's on social media or anything like that, but I'm sure he's heard like some rumblings, within Cowboys Nation, oh man, this guy, he has less than 200 yards. I don't know how many catches he has, but he hasn't really been that standout over there with the Panthers, right? I mean, I think I've heard that they've gone more with their undrafted, wide receiver rookie. I think they have over there. Not really sure of his name, but just some things I've heard. When I think they had the Panthers insider on 105.3 The Fan. Just kind of giving the insight of when they actually made the trade. So, I guess he's been kind of pushed back on the depth chart from over there, and maybe just didn't have the opportunities. I know there was even one clip I seen on Twitter, like, and I haven't seen all of his highlights, but the clip that they used was, you know, the Panthers were deep in their own territory, and there was literally a defender in Bryce Young's face. So when he threw the football, to Mingo, he threw it behind him first of all, and so of course, Mingo drops it, and they use that. Now I don't know if I still have that tweet favored. I don't think I favorited it, but I left the comment saying like, well, the clip that you're using is, a Bryce Young throwing the ball behind him. So of course, I think they said he was like rated like one of the worst wide receivers either this year or last year as far as drop passes. But I'm just like, and I can understand, what I mean. But they've had they've had a quarterback turnstile over there, coaches turnstile over there. So it's just like all of this, upheaval over there that's really going on over there. They can't decide who they want to keep, who they want to, who they want to give away. They traded Deontay Johnson away, so it's just like they have a lot going on over there, and it's not. I mean, how can you really focus on the players that you draft? When you have so much more going on. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So it's just like I understand. I understand where he's coming from, and maybe he just needs a different environment. I mean, that's kind of another thing that's kind of been, I don't want to say exposed, but another thing that's been kind of brought to light this past week with the Cowboys. I mean, with Jordan Phillips going back to the Bills, talking about some, hey, when you go, it's different when you go somewhere where you're wanted, right? Saquon Barkley kind of spoke about that too, as far as, earlier in the season, granted, but when he talked about, I think it was a couple weeks ago, maybe, yeah, when he faced his old team, the Giants, and he said he held no ill will towards them or anything like that, but it's just like, the Giants didn't show that they wanted him. I mean, they showed, I don't know if it was the GM or the owner, whoever it was, but they showed him literally on Hard Knocks saying that, okay, well, you're going to regret it, let us know when you don't hear anything, making jokes about it. But, now look at Barkley. You know what I mean? Like, he's having a phenomenal year. I'm happy for him. I wanted Saquon Barkley in the offseason, you know what I mean? Because I didn't think we would get him because it was, someone within the division. But when he went to the Eagles, I'm like, bro, we could have got him. You know what I'm saying? If you didn't want to pay, now I don't know how much they paid him, but it's just like when I thought that maybe like the Derrick Henrys wasn't possible, when I thought maybe the Aaron Joneses or what's the guy over with the Raiders, Jacobs. When I didn't think, those big name running backs were, available or even possible, I thought at least Saquon Barkley would have been an option. You know what I'm saying? Someone within the division. He's just looking to go somewhere where he's wanted. We needed a running back. Like, Barkley was just one of the guys I really want. I don't know. He's just really, just in general, he's one of my favorite guys in the NFL. Has a great attitude. Just seeing what he went through with the Giants, like, they decided to pay Daniel Jones instead of him, and it's just like, bro, this dude like carried your organization for how long? And it's just like, bro, that's crazy. So it's just like, I love the year he's having, and the attitude that he has about it. It's not like I'm getting you back or nothing like that, but he's still like one of the most unselfish guys in the NFL. Like, even when they showed him on the sideline, like, let the young guys get in, let the young guys eat. You know what I mean? And he's just having a phenomenal year, and you can see just how grateful he is, and he's just, he's playing with grace, but he also has the pieces around him, so that way he can play that way. You know what I mean? So it's just, I just think, just like you said about Bryce Young, Willie Vassar. Yeah, I think Saquon Barkley was just in the wrong system. Like, granted, he did, bring the Giants along and carry them for a long time, but no matter how long he was over there with them, I think he was in the wrong system, and now we see him with Philly, and he's turning up. They have the offensive line to kind of protect them, and it could be different. So to your point, Willie, maybe Mingo coming over here can be a different environment. I mean, just this past weekend, Carl Lawson, what I'm saying, he didn't necessarily speak about it, but he had 2 sacks this weekend. Now, granted, he needed time to kind of ramp up and get into season mode, but it could be the environment. You know what I mean? I mean, playing in Atlanta, that's his hometown. that that kind of had them turn up a little bit. So it could just be where your feet are at times. You know what I'm saying, so hopefully it could just like Mingo said for himself, this could be like a restart for him. Hopefully a way for him to kind of I mean, right now I don't know, but definitely next year, of course. I mean, that's what this move points to, right? For next year, obviously. But it's just like maybe this year, with the year looking like what it's looking like now with Dak being out. I don't know how much you want to get him working with Cooper Rush, but maybe just to get him some work and get him, acclimated to the environment, acclimated to the team, and things like that. Maybe we can see him in games. That way, he's just not sitting and just kind of sitting on the bench. You know what I'm saying? And that's, I don't know. That's really why I'm confused by this move, because it's like, number one, what does it say about the players that you already have? Not just the wide receivers who you carried on the active roster, but the wide receivers that you have sitting on practice squad. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, what does that tell them? And actually, while I'm talking about it, I'll go ahead and quickly bring up the practice squad list, because I don't know how many we have, but it's just like, I know I mean, clearly when we have Jalen Moreno Cropper, who we just elevated, but it's just like what does this say, like, to these guys? Like, these guys have been putting in the time. These guys have been, putting in the effort, the time that they spent, throwing the ball with Dak Prescott, whether they were going to be, getting the ball from him or not. But all that time, while CD was away, that these guys were building up that relationship. But it's just like, now you're going to get another wide receiver. It's just like, to me, it's just baffling, because it's you have these guys sitting on practice squad, you know what I'm saying, who you could possibly give a chance, but how are you really ever going to, number one, how are you going to evaluate these guys? I mean, we really need to know how these guys look in game time, in the bright lights. I mean, you can't just show these guys in preseason to think that that's good enough. These guys are going to learn how to really play the game in preseason. That's not how it works. But it's just, you bring in another body in the wide receiver room, which was already a stacked room to begin with. Like, I'm just wondering what this tells the guys, like, in the room. Well, actually, I'm actually surprised. There's the only two receivers we have on practice squad: Jalen Moreno Cropper and Kelvin Harmon. And maybe it's just, I guess it's an indictment on those guys. But they did elevate Moreno Cropper, so maybe this will probably end up being, I mean, in my opinion, probably end up being his last chance. I mean, you had camp where you shown out, I think 2 years in a row, because he showed out last year in camp too, but he didn't show much in preseason last year, didn't show much this year. So now you're finally, if they incorporate you into the game plan at all, but now you're finally being involved into actual gameplay, in season gameplay. So I think it stands to reason that if he doesn't really show a ton, a ton in this game, that, I mean, I'm not sure how you keep him on practice squad for next year. Honestly, like, he's been around for years. I don't know the exact amount of years, but Moreno Cropper has been around for years, and up till now he's just been a camp standout. Same thing with Nashawn Wright. I mean, he was a camp standout for forever, but it just didn't show up in the bright lights in game. So it's just like, at least you were able to trade him away. You were able to get Andrew Booth, which right now is still a question, but you were able to get something for him. So just like, I think Miranda Cropper wasn't drafted, but it's just like, I think he's had the opportunity to be able to show what he can, show what he can do, but it just hasn't really been much, that we can see. Let me see. Yeah, Willie said I think he will get his chance, because I think Brandon Cooks will be gone. Yeah, for sure. Because I forget who it wasn't. Jerry, because I don't really listen to Jerry anymore, but I forget who I was listening to, and it's more than likely that Brandon Cooks is going to be a free agent after this year, but it's more than likely that they're not going to bring him back, right? I mean, like I just mentioned, wide receiver room is pretty stacked, so I don't necessarily see them, bringing him back. Brandon Cooks back. I mean, Turpin is on his final year of his contract. Now, I'm bringing back Turpin. I love him as a return guy. I love him on the offensive side, but this year has been kind of up and down for Turpin. He used to be like that for sure catcher. I'm saying, he just needed in my opinion, he just needed more being included into the offense more. But this year, he's been kind of up and down, dropping passes here and there. I think he had a fumble, another fumble this year. So it's just like, I love Turpin. I just keep saying he needs more work at the offense. But I mean, you're getting more work this season, and I don't know. He's up and down. So I don't know. I think they bring him back, but it's just with this wide receiver room, I just really want to see what we have. You know what I'm saying? Like, Cowboys are saying they're a draft and develop team, but how long do these guys have to be here to develop? You know what I'm saying? How long did it take this coaching staff to develop these players? You know what I mean? It's just like Moreno Cropper, and you had guys before that. You had Dennis Houston, who was here for a long time. Noah Brown, he came out decent. You know what I'm saying? He played some games for us over there in Washington. Playing some. I'm not sure what his stats are over there, but we all know he caught the Hail Mary. But we just have certain players that we have here for years. You know what I'm saying? We don't like the line. Like I keep forgetting his name, but the guy we drafted, the linebacker who ended up going to Washington. I don't even know if he's playing over there now. You know what I mean? So like these guys who stay here for years, I'm trying to think of, just how successful, guys who have been here for Tony Pollard, he was successful. I believe, drafted fourth round. Rico Dowdle, granted he has the injury history. I mean, he's developed pretty well here too. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like I'm just wondering how long they give these guys a chance, and of course we have like the two known names, Matt Waletzko, Josh Ball, you know what I'm saying? They've been here for years, you know what I mean? Like I think Waletzko was a 5th round pick we got from Amari Cooper. So it's just like I wonder how long like the Cowboys give these players to develop, quote unquote, and then like how long is the leash, right? Like how long do you give these guys to actually show what they can contribute to the team, you know what I'm saying, before because you don't want to have too much turnover to where you just send guys out when they're not developing when you want them to. But at the same time, are you really going to give these guys 4 or 5 years to develop? You know what I mean? Hey, CJ in the building. What's up, fam? I think it's the first time I'm seeing you. Thanks for joining me. He said, like I told Law Nation, if we start running the ball all season, Mike needs to be fired. I had his back, but doing that for drastic measures instead of daily play is unacceptable. And I'm so glad you said that, CJ, because I kind of alluded to it earlier I was talking about earlier about how he kind of changes the gameplay or changes the game plan when he has Cooper Rush in there, because we see him kind of dialing it up, in my opinion, with Cooper. Like I say, he spreads the ball around. He still has some deep shots incorporated into the game plan, but at the same time, and we see those dump offs to Rico, right? But as far as running the ball, like I didn't go back and look at the fourth quarter to see how many times they actually ran the ball. But actually, if you guys want to hang in there with me just for a little bit longer, I'm actually going to look up the 2022 game to where they actually played. Let me see. To when they back to when Cooper Rush actually played the Eagle, and just see how many times Mike McCarthy actually ran the ball, because it should be common sense that if you're going to bring in if you're bringing in your backup quarterback, that you should automatically be willing to run the ball even more, right? I mean that should be. I mean, granted they left Dalvin Cook for right now. As of right now, I know tomorrow hasn't come to pass just yet, but as of right now, Dalvin Cook is still in the practice squad. So you have Rico, you have Deuce, Zeke. You know what I'm saying? They said Zeke was, back with the team, back to normal this week. So he should be involved with the team. So it should stand to reason. I definitely agree, CJ, that it should stand to reason that we should run the ball more. With your backup quarterback in there. But I mean, it's it's really all dependent on Mike McCarthy and whether or not he decides to actually run the ball. Just give me 1 second, y'all. I'm bringing up this. Let me see. Okay, yeah, here we go. All right, yeah. So 2022, when it was actually Rush and they're playing versus the Eagles, lost 26-17. Oh, I clicked on the wrong damn thing. Sorry, y'all. Give me 1 more second. Let me see if I can bring this back up. 1 second, y'all. Okay, all right, perfect. Let me bring up this box score. And then let me share your screen with you guys while I'm bringing this up. Hey, what's up, Trey Fargo? Happy to see you. He actually, okay, so he had rush throw 38 times versus Philly. Yeah. And now that you say that, yeah, I remember that, Trey, because yeah, Cowboys Nation was just in a serious uproar. You know what I mean? When we're like, we don't expect Dak Prescott, to be successful when you have him passing the ball. Because what back then we were saying, what, 25 to 30 times. So we're saying it's not a successful game plan when you have Dak throwing the ball more than 25 times. So what in the world would they be doing with having Cooper Rush throw the ball? Let me see. Let me stop sharing this, and then all right, here we go. Yep, absolutely right. Trey Fargo. Yep, Cooper Rush 18 for 38. And for 181 yards, and that's just yeah, that is insane. I mean, we saw. I think it was one game this year where Dak threw like 44 times or something like that, and that game plan is not going to work. Especially for a backup quarterback. Like it's. Let me see the rushing. Let me see Ezekiel Elliott 13 carries. Tony Pollard, 11 carries, and of course, they threw a CD in there for a couple times. But let me see overall. Let me add that real quick. What 100? Yeah, 134 yards rushing. I mean, 100-yard game, should be successful. But I mean, I got to go back and watch that game. I don't know if I get to it before the game tomorrow. But that's actually I meant to do that this week, but I just didn't have the time to get to it with my work schedule kind of being off. But looking at it on paper, 134-yard game, looks and sounds good. But just like Trey said, like throwing the ball that many times is not successful. I mean, what CD had 10 targets, only caught the ball five times. You know what I mean? Ferguson, 6 targets. That's another thing. We definitely have to get Ferguson involved. I like when they involve Ferguson. It seemed like they involve him more in division games, and he seems to eat a lot more, versus our division, versus our division rivals. But that's just another thing that's kind of bummed me out for this season. Is that when we did have our starters, we weren't scheming up for guys like Jake Ferguson. We're not scheming CD open. He's being blanketed almost at every turn. So, we're asking these other guys to step up, but it's like, you got to help him out at the same time. Like, you can't expect CD, even with CD's shoulder. That's kind of one thing that bugged me. It's like, even with CD's shoulder really, being really banged up, this past weekend, they're still targeting him. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like a double-edged sword. Like you want your number one receiver to step up, but even when he's banged up, you still have to target him because you're not sure if you can go to a Turpin. Who dropped it on that? What was it, third down, fourth down? He dropped the ball. You know what I mean? You go to Tolbert on the outside and he drops the pass. It's just a whole bad conundrum. But it's just like you really really need your number one to step up. At the same time, he has no help. You know what I mean? And that's just really a formula for failure. I'm sorry to say, but it's just like we've been asking these guys to step up really, really since the offseason. I mean, CD hasn't, CD missed all of camp. He came at the last minute trying to, that's what this whole offseason really brought, just a whole slew of problems because, like McCarthy said, all these guys coming in at camp, you don't have your number one wide receiver. You don't have the chemistry with your quarterback and receiver. It's just, it's just going to be all over the place. So, and then on the other side of things, you have, your other receivers, like Tolbert, Turpin, other guys getting that relationship going with Dak. But then at the same time, it's like, bruh, like, oh, snap. Hold up, y'all. Give me. Okay, there we go. My camera went out for a second. It might be overheat. No, it shouldn't be overheating. It should be good. Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. Okay, good. All right. Let me know if you guys can still see me and hear me. My camera went out for a second, but we should be back up. Should be back up and running. Just let me know if you guys can just give me a favor, give me a thumbs up or just any kind of indication. Make sure that you guys can still hear me. before I go on too much. But yeah, I mean, it's just everything just going on at once. It sucked. You know what I'm saying? And then when the CD comes back, Dak is steadily trying to force feed him. But to me, it just didn't make sense. You had the receivers trying to build, a relationship with Dak Prescott, but then when CD comes back, he's having to force feed CD. You know what I mean? So just that relationship that these guys have built with Dak over this whole offseason, they've kind of lost it, when CD does return. Okay, yeah, okay, you guys, yeah, okay, you guys see I'm good. All right, bet. Let me see. Going through some of you guys' comments. Okay. See, they said, "Now I've been here since I saw you with OG Mark Holmes. I just been in my show." Oh, okay. Oh, you say you've been going through it though. I hope you're good, CJ. I know it's I mean, look, I know it's tough overall. Life it can just really be tough overall. I mean, I've learned that getting older. You know what I mean? Like I know people go through things all the time. So I hope it's the weekend, fam. I don't know how you relax or chill or anything like that, but you know you know I don't know if you drink anything like that or I'm not encouraging you to have a drink, but whatever you do to kind of decompress, watch some TV, turn some music on. I know you listen to the content. Maybe I don't know if there's any football games still going on. It's pretty late, but whatever can do to kind of decompress. Just make sure you do that. You know what I'm saying? Just kind of ease your mind a little bit. It's the weekend, so we, all trying to sit back and chill. He also said our screenplays are horrible. Rico and Cooks can do that and let Zeke and Hunter beat up the linebacker so they open up the pass. That is 100% CJ. I love that you said that because I love Rico on some screens. I mean, I think he's had a few touchdowns on some screens and Cooks as well. I mean, I know Dalvin Cook just got here, or just got involved in the offense, but even just some of the passes some of the passes that Dak was dumping off the Cook. I think it was I think it was against us in the 49er game where they kind of got Dalvin involved in some of the passes out the backfield. And I loved it. I think Dalvin had more success doing that than necessarily running it. And to your point, like you said, have Zeke and Hunter Lipke kind of bang up the defensive line to kind of soften them up a little bit. I mean, we saw that, we saw that last year, when we had Zeke and Pollard. You know what I'm saying? You had Zeke to kind of be at the defense. And you have, Pollard kind of coming through, being the Swiss. I think Law Nation kind of with the hammer and the chisel, kind of the combination a little bit, Zeke, and that's something that he was, they're always known for. Even this year when they brought Zeke back, I'm sure he was kind of questioning it too. Like, if I'm not here to kind of either bang up the defense or kind of come through for them, for the goal line touchdowns, like, what's going on? What am I here for? So it's just like. I love your comparison between the backs. Like I think, I think we, have too many backs, but if McCarthy is looking for ways to use these guys, I think it's perfect the way you put it. Let me see. Penalties is do or die when the momentum is there. That's definitely absolute. I mean, I know last game was kind of tough for Tyler Guyton, and I hope he gets better. I mean, we had that kind of year with Tyler Smith, right? I think it was a couple years ago, and Tyler Smith was getting was getting mad penalties when he first came in. Now, granted, his the difference, I guess I'll say one difference is his play was a lot better right now than Guyton's play, but. That the penalties were definitely a thing when Smith was first emerging. So I know there's a growing pains, of rookies. You know what I mean, and it's a tough position to play. You know what I mean, and with this schedule that we have, I mean, it's not easy. These guys that he's been facing, it has not been easy, and it's it'd be one thing if Terrence, and Terrence still hasn't been having the greatest year either, but I think it would be one thing if maybe Terrence still was having a better year, and McCarthy wasn't having necessarily send help to both Guyton and Steele. I mean, because we do see Jake Ferguson, Brevin Spanford from time to time, Luke Schoonmaker coming in, kind of helping out both sides of the offensive line. But I think it would be maybe Guyton's his development might be a little bit better if we're able to kind of help him out a little bit more. But with us having to kind of spread the help out to both sides of the line, I think that, I mean, I think it obviously just kind of leaves your rookie out there it leaves him out there on the island. You know what I'm saying? And now he's kind of dealing with a neck I don't know if his neck and shoulders or just his neck, but hopefully he can get straight because that is nothing to play with. I hope he's okay. I don't know how he sustained it. They said that I think McCarthy mentioned that Austin Richards came in for a little bit when he was getting examined, but that's nothing to play with. So hopefully it's nothing serious, and hopefully he can kind of get through that and kind of work through it. Like I mentioned earlier with the schedule, we have some short weeks coming up. So hopefully it's not too bad of an injury. See, this is another showcase for Ferg and Tolbert to earn their respect and spot on the front lines. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I like how they were getting Ferg involved in the Niner game. You know what I'm saying? Even the Atlanta game, they were throwing some passes to him. I think they were throwing some seam passes to Ferg. They were definitely getting them involved with some screen passes. And I mean, you get Ferg can break passes, can break tackles on his own, but if you get him in space, you know what I'm saying? I mean, look, I'm just at this point. I'm just ready to see our tight ends just have any kind of production, just period. You know what I'm saying? It's one thing to have, in years prior we had Jake Ferguson turning up and we were trying to get Luke Schoonmaker involved. You know what I mean? But now, like, are you telling me that we can't get our tight end one involved? Like, that's one thing that's kind of irking me about this season. It's just like, bro, like, and I'll even bring up this. Let me see, because I got this list from. Let me see if I think I have it favorited. Let me see. I have this bookmark tweet from tight end, from National Tight End Day, right? And of course they listed all the tight ends who had touchdowns, their yardage, you know what I mean, passes that they caught, things like that. And I'm just like, I mean, I know Jake Ferguson didn't necessarily have to be on the list, but it's like, bro, he barely even made it, Jane. It's just like I think we're just not disrespecting, but I think we're just doing him so down bad this year, bro. It's crazy. And I know a lot of the players on the team, Dak, CD, I know Micah, I know he's been out for injury, but I know our team, I know our players have been having, some season lows, you know what I mean? But it's just like, bro, like when you see a list like this, Trey McBride, just kind of going through the list, Tucker Kraft, and this is no slight to any of the tight ends on this list, but I think Jake Ferguson can outdo some of the guys on this list. Evan Ingram, I know he's up there in age. Mark Andrews, same thing as far as age. But I think Ferguson, can outdo some of these guys on this list. And I think we just did him, not just on this weekend, but I think we're doing such a disservice to him just this year in general because we were looking at Ferguson as, pretty much our second receiver option because we're looking, like I said earlier, we're looking for our other receivers to step up. But, we wanted him to be, we say, hey, when all else fails, go to Ferg, right? But it's just like this year, we're not even doing that. Like, I know he's spending so much time trying to help out our offensive line. It's just like, bro, like he's getting beat, he's getting beat up. He's taking on, guys he wouldn't normally face. Like even in the Niner game, I saw him, I think, picking up a chip block from Nick Bosa, and at the same time he had to go out for, well, they didn't pass to him, but he went out for a screen pass in the soft zone, and I'm just like, so you want him to do all, and you could visually see him kind of jogging, kind of just, some of his energy just being kind of spent because it's just like he's spending so much time on that edge, you know what I mean? Just spending all his energy trying to contain Nick Bosa. And even, I think it was his past game, he was supposed to chip Matt Judon. I don't know if it was on third or fourth down, but he didn't chip him enough to where Dak couldn't get the pass out to him on time. So it's just like, I mean, yeah, you got to fault Ferguson for not, picking up the block enough, to give himself enough time to be able to catch the ball and, to do what he can with it. But at the same time, you got to say, like, look, bro, like we can't. You have other tight ends for that. Like, why not? Or even Lipke. You know what I'm saying? To do that. You know what I'm saying? I think Ferguson's just getting so beat down at that line. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if this is the year or next year where, Ferg, possibly comes up for free agency or whatever. But I don't know. I'm gonna be real with y'all. I'm gonna keep it all the way real with y'all. The way that they kind of throwing these fourth round picks around, for Trey Lance and now this one for Mingo. I mean, we know Jake Ferguson was a fourth round pick, and like I said, I say it right now. Like I said, I don't know if it's this year or next year, but I don't want to lose Jake Ferguson. He's seems like he needs to be a Cowboy for life. You know, he plays tough for this team. Like he's one of the guys who just brings that tough mentality. And when we saw him last year, when in games like facing Seattle, I'm saying in games like I believe facing the Lions, like he just shows just this just different tough, and he shows this tough mentality as well. Like you know what I'm saying? I think he, not saying he solely gets the team going, but when they see him kind of, having, getting those yak yards when he was getting those yak yards, that kind of gets the crowd going. It kind of gets the team energized. And I'm just really missing that energy. And I'm not saying he's not bringing that, but it's just like, it just sucks that we can't really get him involved like we really need to really kind of bring, to you guys' point, really kind of bring that physicality. Because if anybody brings that physicality to the game as far as on our offense is Jake Ferguson. Let me see what you guys are saying in the comment section. Willie says, I don't think Dak has been healthy since training camp. Yeah, Nisi mentioned that earlier about Dak being in that boot. And then, they weren't really trying to make, a lot out of it. But I mean, and like I said, I don't know if it has anything to do with that. And I don't hopefully it didn't compound with the ankle injury. I don't know if it's the same leg as the ankle injury, but it's, it just sucks, everything that, not just Dak, but everything that this team is going through as far as injuries this season. Yeah, CJ says the good our rookies are getting beat up by the best in the league because next year it's going to feel like practice. Yeah, and I mentioned that earlier. Like I think our young guys and even some of the vets who are going to be here for next year. Guys like Overshown. Guys who are still young, Overshown, Damone Clark. If he's going to be here for another year. A lot of guys on the defense who are still young. Can kind of take this tough schedule. The kind of the first couple of years in the NFL and kind of bring that into next year and say, hey, I face teams like the Ravens, face teams. I'm drawing a blank for whatever reason. Face teams like Atlanta, I'm saying, who's becoming kind of a powerhouse team, if you will. Like the Niners, a tough Niners team. Even though they're down players, they're still a tough team to play. So with this first place schedule, I think I don't want to say harm, but I think it's doing some good as well. I think it can be kind of help these guys kind of, what they say, steel sharpens steel. Like, some of these tough players that they're facing now, it can definitely prepare them for the future. Let me see. See, this is exactly what I was thinking. Like, why they leaving the rookie on the island with no help, especially in a new position, never played. Yeah, I agree with you. And like I mentioned earlier, with the right side of our line, play just being what it is. They've really had to help both sides of the line. Let me see. Willie Vasquez says, I want to see that rookie Ryan Flournoy. That young man is going to be something special in time. Yeah, I agree with you. And I mean, we saw him play in the preseason game 3, where he showed that fight against, I think his name is Jack Jones, the starter over there for the Raiders. So, I'm excited to see if he still has that. I mean, like I said, we've only mainly see him like in the blocking capacity, but hopefully we can see more from him. I just really think like, I don't know. I think the Cowboys have kind of dug this hole themselves. You know what I mean? And I mean, not saying we couldn't help it, but after having to, getting Tolbert, then you go and get Brooks. You know what I'm saying? Then you go and get Flournoy. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, you have Turpin trying to get him involved. So you just kind of stack the wide receiver room, kind of like how we did the running back room over the offseason, over this past offseason. Going to get guys like Snoop Connor, Royce Freeman, things like that. Stacking the room with guys who. Not saying you don't believe in them, but really just having guys in the room. So then you're keeping those guys, but are you like I mentioned earlier? Are you developing them, or are they themselves developing? Well, if not, like they say, either or get off the pot, right? Like sometimes instead of kind of trying to hold over these roster spots and say we need to start giving them to guys who I'm not gonna say any guy deserves a spot over another guy, but sometimes these placeholders that we see, I'm saying, just kind of taking up, roster spots who don't necessarily need to be taken up. You know what I mean? True Cowboy in the building. What's up, fam? I'm happy to see you. I don't know if this is your first time in here, but Appreciate you joining me. Make sure you hit subscribe, hit like, share, and subscribe. Really appreciate you joining me. She just says, I like Ferg, no doubt, but he got to keep that fire burning to boost the team. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Willie says Ferg reminds me of Witten. Yeah, I like that, and actually a little bit more than Witten. And that, well, actually no, I take that back because Witten, yeah, Witten was a yak player as well. He would definitely fight for that extra yardage. So yeah, I'm with you on that. And with Ferg being a little bit, I'll say a little bit slimmer than Witten, like even more athletic Witten because he can break those tackles and he's a little bit a little bit faster. You know what I mean? I mean, I was surprised when I seen Ferg lose that fumble and he was able to hop like right on top of it. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if Witten could have did that. Not saying he maybe like in his prime or something like that, but just I think Ferg's size kind of contributes to his yak yard ability. And I just think that, I think he's an even more athletic Witten, if that makes sense. CJ says, yeah, Ryan Flo definitely needs more playtime to get guys in the zone of battle. That soft practice, happy, friendly stuff not allowed game time when people playing with a purpose. Yeah, I feel you. Like it's worlds different than when you're practicing than whether you're then when you're actually getting real game time reps. So yeah, I think that could really do something for Ryan Flournoy. I mean, he's already shown that physicality. Is willing to go for the ball. So I think it works on wonders too. Like I'm starting to feel for Jalen Brooks. Like I know early in the season, people were kind of edging him out a little bit. I still wanted a chance for him because I think he has ex receiver potential. He's definitely we've seen him go up in high point balls. Catch we even some catches this season we've seen. I think we've seen a third down conversion. We saw a huge actually on the play, I think that Dak, where they actually showed Dak's facial expression, making the throw to Jalen Brooks, and he had that huge catch. That's another big catch that he's made. I think was a conversion. So I like what I'm seeing from Brooks. On that note, you know what I mean. But at the same time, I would like to see more Flournoy as well. That's what I'm saying. Like it's not I'm not. I don't want to call it a problem. I guess it's a good problem to have when you have several guys who have these different attributes, but kind of like the running back room, like you got to decide how you want to use these guys instead of just continually adding to the room. The next thing you know, you have a room full of guys, what, 7, 8, 9, 10 receivers who you don't know what to do with. Like when we had Dennis Houston, when we had even last year, Racing McMahon, guys like that, who can contribute to the team, but at the same time, it's like, can these guys show up in big moments? Can you elevate them for game day? You know what I'm saying? And we'll see that for this Sunday if Marino Cropper can really show something. But it's just like, I don't know. It's now have a stacked room full of guys who you have to kind of decipher, who you really want playing in the game. Let me see. Billy says, I don't want to be hard on Big Mike, but I really feel like he has turned back into the Mike McCarthy of the last few years of Green Bay. Hooker point shaving, I've been saying it. Not playing Thomas and Bell is bad front office. Yeah, I hate that we haven't seen, Bell or Wanye, pretty much outside of special teams. You know what I mean? I like that. And honestly, I think I spoke about this in the offseason before the season even started, that I was hoping that they would give Bell, being that he stepped up last season, for, being that we lacked linebackers, what I mean? I just like that he stepped up into the role. And I thought that maybe would have kind of given them a leg up over, not a leg up over Malik Hooker or Donovan Wilson, but just, as far as the coach's consideration, like, okay, we know this guy can step up, and I know he's played linebacker, but maybe give him an extra chance because he did step up for us in the previous year. So, we'll give you a little bit more playing time, or we'll have you, and I don't want to say, give him anything, over the veterans, but I think he's earned it in the style of, like he played tough for us, and he was, one of the high, I don't want to say highest graded, but one of the higher graded linebackers, quote unquote, for that season that he did step up for us. So I really felt like he at least earned a little bit more playing time this season. And I understand maybe with Zimmer coming in, Hooker and Dono, aren't even his guys. So, maybe him using a Marquise Bell or a Wanye, he probably wasn't even thinking about those guys. You know what I mean? So I mean, you never really know how these coaches really think about these players when they're coming in, because they don't they're getting used to them too. So it's you know like I mentioned earlier in the show, it's unfortunate that Wanye is going to be out for this game. But I do hope that him and Bell do get more playing opportunity, and they're young. I think they came into camp together, so they're both young. Came at the same time. I think this is both of their third year. So I don't know how long Hooker and Dono are being paid for, but hopefully we'll be able to see some of these young guys going forward, because I mean that's what we were looking for before we even ended the season. That's what we're looking forward to, I guess, the youth of the team. But at the same time, like we spoke about last year, like Star says, like that veteran wall, we're still kind of seeing that, in this safeties room. Oh, okay, what's up? What's your point? I think I seen you on I think I seen you on a Sports Junkie show. Sports Junkie and Angry Cowboys fan. What's up? He said I think Thomas is injured as well. Yeah, yeah. We're not injured. Well, injured. Yeah, I think he has a concussion. So yeah, he's going to end up missing this game. I think he sustained it on the sorry, he sustained it on the special teams drive. Unfortunately, I mean that was kind of the point of special teams, right? Them changing it up so that way guys wouldn't necessarily be flying down the field. But and it sucks that it's Wanye. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he doesn't really get a lot of playing time as it is. So hopefully, he can come back quick from the from his concussion, and get back to working, and hopefully get more involved into the game. Before we close out, if there's anything you guys want to talk about in the chat, while you guys are still here, make sure you guys, let me know in the chat. And while you guys do that, I'm gonna go through these last little bit of tweets. Then, if there's anything else that I have to go over, and then if not, then yeah, we can go ahead and get out of here. Because I didn't even realize it's almost 11. Well, it is 11:30 now. Let me see. We went over the Dak injury, went over CD and Micah possibly coming back, Mingo being involved in practice. Let me go over my last few notes. Yeah, I think that was it pretty much for the most part. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the show, and as I close out, what I'll be looking forward this year. Actually, hold up, give me 1 minute, y'all. I think I had some. Actually, yeah. Actually, I had some Philly notes. I'll just touch, just a little bit on Philly. Like I did. Like I said, I haven't watched a lot. I watched their games, throughout the season as I'm able to catch them play. But as far as like studying their film and getting down to nitty gritty things like that, I haven't actually been able to do that. But but watching their past game this past weekend that they had against the Jags, they're still playing well. I mean, it's definitely it's the same Philly team, but like different, at different positions, right? Because it's, they have, they input pieces. They got Cooper DeJean or Cooper DeJean. I want to make sure I say it right. Of course, they have other guys that have been there, but still young. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Reed Blankenship. That's no offense, but I don't think we've seen that across any other any other team in the NFL. Is I ain't gonna say it. But, Cooper DeJean, Reed Blankenship, y'all doing y'all thing in the secondary. You know what I'm saying? Two white boys in the secondary doing their thing. You don't really see that. Across the NFL like that, and they're everywhere. You know what I'm saying? They even got Cooper DeJean, doing I think his punt returns. You know what I'm saying for Philly, and I don't know if he's had any great returns, but I mean that shows that he's able to function, functionality, able to do duality, be able to do different things. I mean, we see Wanye. We saw Wanye doing that early in the season before they just had Turpin back there, but yeah, very interesting to see the guys that they had step up. I mean, speaking of stepping up, a Calcaterra, their tight end. Another note I saw from this past game, he's showing up in the tight end position. Jalen Hurts has been kind of, getting him involved more and more, as the season kind of goes on. And actually, I didn't know they kind of dropped this gem during that game, that Calcaterra. And I didn't know. I'm sure you guys probably already knew, but Calcaterra was actually Hurts' Oklahoma teammate with was Oklahoma. Like I said, I don't follow college like that, so please don't kill me out there. The college football, people out there. I really don't follow it like that. Please forgive me, but I just know that they dropped, said that they were teammates in college. So I think that kind of contributes to the to relationship that they kind of have with each other. I mean, it's no wonder that he's been able to kind of step up while Goddard wasn't there. And of course Goddard is coming back this week. And I mean that's par for the course, right? I mean, I'm sure he probably didn't want to come back last week against the Jags. I mean, why not? But it's just now they have kind of like a two tight end type, kind of tandem going on over there. And I'm not saying Calcaterra is on Goddard's level just yet, but like I was speaking earlier about our tight ends, like it's one thing when you have, you can get your tight end one involved, but when you can get two tight ends involved, so that's what I was excited about seeing, before he got hurt, with John Stevens or even Brevin Spann-Ford, if we can kind of get him involved, or even Luke Schoonmaker, if he can, step up and continue his, keep his confidence up. It's having two tight ends to be able to go out there and just get those big bodies out there and either block or we've seen some pass attempts going to Brevin Spann-Ford in the end zone, Schoonmaker as well, but being unsuccessful. So now that they got two tight ends over there, I mean, it's just another weapon. I mean, they did have crazy weapons over there. We know about Devontae Smith. We know about AJ Brown. I think he's going to be playing this game. I think Brown went down, I think with a knee injury in the second half last week, but I think he's going to be playing this game. A lot of people like to say that Devontae Smith is kind of like the forgotten guy, but I mean, I don't know. It's hard to forget the guy when I think he's caught, I think, a touchdown in almost every pass. I mean, caught a touchdown in almost every game this season, I believe, because we know AJ Brown, did miss, I think 3 or 4 games. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but he did miss, a good amount of games this season. So of course, Devontae Smith, has always had to kind of, had to step up. Not saying that AJ misses a lot of games, but I mean, I think that's where he kind of, not saying he gets in where he fits in, but that's where he gets his opportunity. So then when AJ Brown does come back, then that's when those two are on, are on fire. And like I mentioned earlier, now you have the two tight ends, who can kind of catch fire at the same time. It's going to be a lot for the Cowboys to handle. That's why I said, it would be great if the Cowboys, if Mike McCarthy kind of schemed maybe something a little different for this game. Maybe kind of catch them off guard, because I mean, you don't really have much to lose. I'm saying, but if you can kind of, if you kind of work something together, kind of get your guys involved, get Cooper to kind of distribute the ball, and that's the other side of the thing. Like like I mentioned earlier with the defense, Cooper DeJean and Reed Blankenship. That's just a secondary. But then when you come down to the first level, the second level, what you got? Jalen Carter is a defensive edge. You have Davis, Nakobe Dean, and Zach Bond. Like those two linebackers, what I'm saying? Like Nakobe Dean jumping up and possibly batting down passes at the line. Zach Bond just playing everywhere. Like this dude's everywhere. Like I don't know how many tackles he had over this past weekend, but he was everywhere. He was at the line of scrimmage. He was in coverage. Like this dude's everywhere, and he's everywhere the ball is. You know what I mean? And I like his energy. I mean, you want somebody like that, right, on your team. I mean, like I don't know if he's the green dot or anything like that over there, but I like that he's a playmaker. I mean, that's what we want, right? We talk about Kendricks. What I'm saying, we talk about Overshown, and even our side Overshown and Leafau. I love how they played last week. Leafau coming off the edge, bringing pressure to Kirk Cousins. I think. I know we have Micah coming back, so that's why I talked about earlier, way earlier in the live about Micah coming back. Now, granted, I know the season is down, but I want to see how Zimmer kind of works his system. How are you going to work it now that Micah's coming back? Are you still going to be rushing Leafau off the edge? Are you still going to be doing the double A gap, blitz, things like that? Because if you, I know we have a hard time creating pressure, but if you're able to, you have a Micah back now. Are you still going to be trying to rush Overshown or even Leafau off the edge? Are you still going to be blitzing, possibly with Donald Wilson? You know what I mean? So now you just have, you have your chess chess piece back, but like you have a semblance of a pressure back. You know what I mean? All in it may not be 100% Micah Parsons, but now he can be on the other side of Golston. You know what I mean? Now you can kind of create pressure with that. You know what I'm saying? And you just we've seen some things that Zimmer has been able to kind of create in these past few games. So I'm more so looking forward to how he works Micah into that now. You know what I mean? So and hopefully that can because facing a quarterback Kirk Cousins is one thing, you know what I'm saying, or even Jared Goff is another thing. But a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, even C.J. Stroud coming up, down the line, Jaden Daniels coming up, it's going to be different trying to get any kind of semblance of pressure, on those type of quarterbacks. Let me see what you guys are saying. See, they says Gilmore didn't like the tackle is true, but for that Eagles game for us, he was locked down. He was a lockdown tackle machine. Yeah. He says we can run on them. I don't care. Like what we did versus the 49ers and the Steelers and the Falcons. Yeah, Rico had his best game this past weekend versus the Falcons. I think he had 75 yards rushing. I think either just under 30 or just over 30 with with catches at the backfield. So yeah, definitely Rico's best game. Definitely the Cowboys' best game as far as rushing yards. So yeah, I like 100% CJ. Like Mike just needs to, and now with his backup thing in, like we need to run the ball. Like period. Like it should really be like no question. You see, it's not Mike's fault, Jerry. You won't give him what he needs and also let Mike have full control of the team. Yeah, I agree. I think it was Jerry who, told Mike to give Zeke, more carries in the Lions game. I think I, I just wholeheartedly think that. I mean, Jerry's the one who brought Zeke back. I'm not even mad about them bringing Dalvin Cook in. It's just like now you have this whole conundrum going on. Well, I don't know. It's almost like if you have Zeke up, you can't have Dalvin up. But my thing is like I just said, if you have Zeke up, you don't play Dalvin and vice versa. But for me, it's like you have Deuce Vaughn, but you're not playing him, at all, outside of special teams. So it's just like maybe they don't want Deuce Vaughn to be this scratch, or I'm sure they probably see Zeke and Dalvin being like the same kind of back, but I don't know. Like if Deuce Vaughn isn't the one seeing the field, like why isn't he inactive? You know what I mean? Like, and if he is active, why not put him in? And why not? I just, it's hard to try to assume anything that the Cowboys are doing right now, but it's just like, man, it's weird to me. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather see a Dalvin Cook than a Deuce Vaughn right now. Or if our run blocking scheme is really that bad, where maybe Deuce can't really produce. I don't mean to ramen or like that, but if Dalvin is having success, like I just wonder, maybe they don't want him to be like a healthy. Maybe they don't want Deuce to be like a healthy scratch again. But I'm just not understanding why he's holding like I mentioned earlier about the roster spots. Like he's holding a roster spot. But I mean, I think it was this past game or the 49er game where they literally showed Deuce on the sideline, just warming up, walking up and down the sideline, trying to keep his body limber and trying to stay warmed up. I'm just like, bro, like, what is this guy like? What is this player doing on our team if he's not on the field? Like, but here we go on, we're going back and forth between Dalvin Cook and Zeke, and it's like, bro, like Deuce isn't doing anything. So it's just like, I don't know. Willie says tomorrow I think we will win because one, they will be overconfident, and two, a trap game for them, and we need a home win. That's 100%. We definitely need a home win. Like I heard earlier on the Players Lounge, one of the Cowboys podcasts. Like it's crazy. Like we're in November and we have yet to have in the calendar year of 2024, we have yet to have a win at home. We're in week 9 and have yet to have a win at home. So we definitely need a win. We need a confidence booster. Like, yeah, these guys need a dub. Yeah, true Cowboy, 100%. Rico is our best running back, like, period. Like, as you can clearly see, like, as you give him the ball more, like, he's more successful as the game goes on. Even in the Lions game, which was crazy to me, like, even in the Lions game, Cooper Rush came in, was given to Rico. He was still, getting 4 or 5 yards per carry. It's just like, Like just keep feeding this man. Like, you know what I'm saying? He did well versus the 49ers. He did well this past weekend. You know, as far as yards per carry. So it's just like I don't understand. Like, I'm not saying Mike McCarthy. I don't think that Mike McCarthy does not trust him. It just I don't know what's going on with the play calling. So hopefully this week, well, hopefully this now the rest of the season, he'll be forced to kind of stick with the run, and I think that really contributes to the success of this team. I mean, and not just that, but it gives Rico confidence. I think his confidence is like off the chain now. I mean, we saw that that kind of acrobatic touchdown catch, just touchdown catch that he made from Dak last week against Atlanta, but he had the other screen touchdown pass that he himself improvised. Like he said, the dude fell, so he went out to he took the route outside, and Dak saw him and was able to make the touchdown pass. Like that's pretty much his second improvised touchdown pass. You know what I mean? So it's like Rico is for me like the shining. I ain't gonna say the shining light because yeah, he did have that fumble at the goal line against the Steelers. There are times where he doesn't have in the beginning of the season he didn't have great reads on where to go with the ball, but it's like as the season progresses, he seems to progress, right? So I'm just hoping that he can continue to do that. McCarthy can continue to feed him and keep his confidence up because I think he really drives his offense at times. I think his energy, his burst, and then of course with the supplement of either you bring a Zeke up to kind of help up or when we have Dalvin Cook involved. I just think that the two running back system helps any back regardless. But I just think that with Rico, he's clearly our running back one, and he just needs to be treated as so. Yeah, yeah. This will be the last comment before we get out of here. Willie says, "I think we might trade Deuce." I mean, I don't see why not. And I mean, what was he like? What was a 6th round pick? I think he was our 6th round pick, the running back. Yeah, a couple years ago, 2023. So I mean, not like he doesn't have value. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that might maybe in this offseason they'll be able to show again in preseason what he can offer. So I don't know how soon they'll talk about trading him, but I mean, at this point, you know what I mean, because he's not contributing at all to the team, and maybe they don't want to be wrong, about another draft pick that they made. And of course, as we know, his dad works in the building, but I don't know. I mean, you might as well get something for him, especially if you're not using him. And if he's too small, I guess for this offense, I'm saying, or for McCarthy's use of him, then yeah, definitely get some value for him because it's just like number one, you hate for him to see him just sitting, on the bench, taking up a spot every week. But at the same time, it's not even about taking up a spot, but he's not progressing. If he's only working special team, that's not helping him at all. You know what I mean? So it's just like. I'm tired of the Dallas Cowboys like just wasting the talent that we have on our team from the veterans, and now down to some of our rookies. I'm saying who have yet to see the field. So I'm hoping. I think the Cowboys should use the rest of this year as like an evaluation type, which I'm sure other people have been saying, but and it's a lot. I mean, I don't know if they will. I mean, like McCarthy mentioned earlier, he's still looking to win games. And shout out to my girl Star. She tweeted earlier. She actually had a tweet that she put out, and I thought it'd be the last thing I'll show you guys before we dip out of here because she said like McCarthy is going to be focused on next year, trying to yeah bring it up. Oh goodness, what did I just do? Okay, let me go back. Okay, I don't know what happened with that, but pretty much. Let me see if I can bring this tweet because I don't know. All right, let me go back. All right, here we go. She says, "I hate to break it to y'all, but Mike McCarthy is now applying for his next job. He don't give a damn about the development of Trey Lance or losing games for us to get a high draft pick. if Jerry keeps him here, which looks like what's going to happen, Mike is going to play every game to win and even try to make playoffs. He no longer cares about the Dallas Cowboys beyond this season, so don't expect him to make decisions that's best for the team long term. And I definitely feel where she's coming from. Like I mentioned earlier, with with McCarthy's phone call, he's pretty much said like, "Hey, like there's still a lot of football left. Still early in the season." Like, I definitely feel him. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he definitely tried to go forward and win games, but at the same time, it's like I don't know. Like Nisi said, if Mike isn't coming back, keep Deuce, and hopefully the next head coach will know how to use him. Yeah, I feel you. I feel you, Nisi. That's really probably going to be the case for a lot of guys. Some of these guys who are on 1 year deals, or some of these guys who may hit free agency. It could depend on what Jerry decides to do. If he decides to bring Mike back and hire another maybe an offensive coordinator, or if he decides to get rid of all the coaching staff, or depending on who and what he decides to get rid of, it's gonna be interesting. And what's up, Slim Cuddy? I think it's the first time I'm seeing you. What's up, fam? You calls right at the tail end. Appreciate you for jumping in right quick. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. And yeah, before we head out of here, yeah, like I was saying, I really hope I get tired of the Cowboys, wasting the talent, that's on this team, and we'll see where the season, we'll see where this team goes after the season is over. But as far as this week, I'll just taking it week by week. I want to see how Mike McCarthy, just how different this game plan is, and I know Cooper Rush isn't Dak Prescott, but you still have to distribute the ball. You still got to get your main guys involved. And if you're talking about, this is a division game and we still need to win games, and that's the goal, then let's see what you do. Let's see if you decide to stick with the run since you have your backup quarterback. I'm saying let's see what personnel you use. Let's see if you actually get the guys who have the chemistry with Cooper Rush. Get them involved in the game, and call plays accordingly. What I'm saying, what these guys are used to, instead of trying to I don't know. I know the season is done, so it's hard to comment how I want them to come to the game, but I just don't want them. I don't want him to be too vanilla to where Micah kind of mentioned where Cooper just did the basics. He just did his job. I still want to see some of those deep shots. I still want to see, even like we saw last week with the deep touchdown, pass to CD. Even though he dropped it, I think he just dropped it because he was hurt at the time. I think he would, have caught that ball because it was right on the money. So Cooper can make those passes. Just a matter of if it's schemed up and if they decide to do it. So I really hope that all this, although the season may be maybe out of it, I still want to be able. I still want to see some fight. I still want to see some creativity, and still want to see what these players kind of take from this down year. Let me see. Since Cowboys will not fire a coach, Mike will do what DQ did. The difference is, will he get another head coach job? Yeah, that's true. I think he probably could get another job, but I think that's why he's kind of speaking up now, like in these press conferences, just to make let it be known to these other organizations, like hey, I still know how to operate, as a head coach. What I'm saying, as a play caller, and what I like to be done. Why I like to get done early in the off season, like these creators have pointed out this week. He likes things done in April, before the draft. Like you got to get the guy so he can get the continuity going, well before the season starts. So, I wouldn't be surprised if we see things like that going forward, where he's just remains adamant on getting his own ideologies out there for next year for when the future does come. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and hop off here, you guys, because this has been a long live, but I really enjoy chopping it up with you guys. I did something different with the the shapes and stuff on the screen and things like that. It's just Saturday night, just kind of chilling. Really just wanted to get a show going, because probably next time I go live will probably be on Wednesday with my girl Star. So I really want to enjoy this long weekend. Want to do this live, but I'm gonna try to enjoy the games tomorrow. I'm gonna be locked into our game, of course, but some good games in the 1 o'clock slot. Washington plays the Steelers. I believe there's other good games at 1 o'clock as well, but I can't really remember right now off the top of my head. But of course, our game's at 4, and then Sunday night, is pretty good too. Lions and Texans. I'm looking forward to that as well. So I'm just looking forward to a good Sunday of football. Like Rome tweeted out a Cowboys fan talk. He said, "Look, he said he don't give a f about the game. Like, not saying I don't give a f about it, but it is a different feeling. I ain't gonna say relief, but it is a different feeling watching your team where you don't necessarily have to be stressed. You know what I mean? It's definitely a different feeling. But I'm gonna enjoy the season while it's here, and I'm like I said, I'm gonna be where the Dallas Cowboys are, and I'm gonna be in 2024 until week 18 hits. You know what I'm saying? The zeros go across that clock. So, and last comment, Nishi says Mike needs to stop. He doesn't show he has a pair on the field. Anyone can talk big in the press conference. Yeah, that's 100%. Yeah, that's definitely true, Nishi. I mean, and we've been seeing it for weeks. He's the one that has been saying that I got to get the running backs more involved, but he's the play caller. So it's just like, yeah, like you said, it's not about what you say, but like they say, actions speak louder than words. Yeah, I feel you, sis. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and hop off of here. I really appreciate everybody coming through and spending your time. Like I said, Saturday evening, you did not have to be here, and I appreciate everybody, being interactive in the chat as well, and all the new faces that came through as well. I appreciate you and everybody that watches on the replay as well. I appreciate you. Make sure you guys, if you guys do watch the replay, leave me a comment and let me know what you thought of this video. Let me know what you guys think, of the game coming up, of the season. Now with Dak being out for the season, how you think guys, how you think Mike McCarthy will plan differently for the guys who are going to be on the field. So, before I get out of here, hit like, subscribe, share the video, please. Like I said, trying to get my numbers up, my subscribers up, before the end of the season. And like I said, appreciate you guys and love you guys, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.